Hi, this is Arun from arunsyoga.in. I'm a software engineer who mostly work with Node.js, PHP, and other backend technologies. And I'm an open source contributor as well. I'm a tantric by birth in a family which is passing tantric wisdom from generations to generations from past 2000 years of legacy, and got lucky to travel across India and got chances to study under various gurus from different backgrounds and disciplines. You could connect with me in arunsyoga.in. Here I'm helping you to design a divine lifestyle which is based on Vedic astrology, tantra, and other yogic system of understanding. Can go through is actually from Carl J. Jung. That is how it's pronounced, right? Carl J. Jung, that is like a psychiatrist, right? Ben?
Carl Jung, yeah.
Yeah, Carl Jung. He has written a book, Men and His Symbols. So that is the book which is basically mostly study about the yantra and the mysticism behind all those stuff. And if we look at on the other religions, there is the sacred geometry or the symbolical representation of the godliness is not just on the forms of yantra. There is Metatron's cube is there, seed of life, flower of life, and the tree of life. It's from Bible. Then Kabbalah, Kabbalah is from Jewish understanding, and the entire system of tarot is being made out of this Kabbalah understanding of the mythological figures. So, what is this actually means? Why people are trying to understand the resonance frequency in this particular passion, and why they are trying to write it on the board or whatever the way they feel like? Why the civilization is doing in such a passion? This is this is something which people has to be actually really has to be get curious about. Why such a certain figures is being made out of in both east and west together, which has a certain kind of understanding which looks like similar in religious understanding from the east and west, and the mysticism altogether. Mm. So there is something which is existing far beyond. Let's start from the Bible itself. Then Bible is saying the God was the sound. First, the first stanza, it was sound was the beginning, and from the sound everything has been created, and some stories are coming up and sort of stuffs like that. Then how to come to that sound, or how to come to the that resonance, and why we have to come to that resonance. uh, so basically people call this as enlightenment. And what is this enlightenment is all about? It's nothing but like, what is that, what happens when you get enlightened? When somebody or one a person getting enlightened, what happens is like his senses started to exceed, it's an extensions of the senses. That is how I would like to call the enlightenment is nothing but the extension of the self. They People can actually understand and feel much more deeper the way of understanding. That is why people are taking LSDs and grass or whatever. It is to get the sense of that. Once people got into that, they can actually resonance that into everyday life. That is called yoga vidya. So when we are looking at into the Upanishad is the sacred text which is being said. It is very purest form. That is one of the ancient text which is being uh, written as an understanding to give the mythological understanding to transfer from one generation to another generation. So what is that Upanishads are saying? We have to start to understand from that there. So it says like, he who knows this don't need to seek. He who don't know what to seek. He who think he know this actually don't know what is this. So this is like a kind of understanding which cannot be understood through words or mind or whatever. So to reach this particular this thing only can be experienced. This cannot be worshipped. This cannot be transferred through words or whatever, words or written symbols or whatever the passion. It cannot be transferred. So to understand this, we have to take our senses. We have to basically teach our senses what to see, and we have to teach our intellect how to analysis what we are seeing. So basically, the yantras are the pictorial representation which helps us to understand the universe around us in much deeper way, where senses can be touched very easily. So that is the reason why the yantras are being made. And from that yantra, if the one of the textbook which is talks about, which teaches the tantra, is called Soundarya. It has 100 verses. Some says it's 100, some says it's 103, some says it's 104. So how whatever it is somewhere like 100 verses are there. Most of the versions of the Soundarya. In that, each stanza stands for one yantra. So there are total 100 yantras altogether in the textbook of Soundarya. So that is the one of the Hindu understanding of the whether we can call it as Hindu or whatever. It is again doubtful. But since that is the one of the understanding of the Brahman or the Absolute in a pictorial representation, which we could see in the Soundarya. So, what is that? An yantra. A yantra will be contains circle, squares, and triangles. These are the basic things which is in a yantra, or a tantric representation of the understanding of the Brahman is being made in this way. There is circle. There are basically three combinations: circle, squares, and triangle. Triangles could be upward pointing or downward pointing. So what is this circle represent? Circle represents infinite space and the expansion of the consciousness, and which is related to Panchabhutas, or one of the five Bhutas, which is Akash, Earth, fire, water, and Vayu, that is oxygen. So all these things are being related to Panchabhuta, and let's see how it is being related. Circle represents infinite space and expansion. That is nothing but the representation of the Akash. Square, or is a space or rigidity. That earth is a rigid thing. So the square is being related to earth, and upward pointing triangle, that is fire, and downward pointing triangle, that is water. This is something which we could see the text of sacred geometry also. In sacred geometry also, they are also teaching the same way. So this is one of the curious element which people has to be get interested into. This is what something which I actually wish for, because the totally different time zone and totally different places, which is east and west, is been developed in a certain understanding and came into a certain conclusion which looks familiar, which looks similar. Why it is happening? This is something which I think this is something has to be, I mean, people has to be really curious about the thing, what is why it is being happening that way. Then there is a fifth thing, that is dot. Every yantra, there is a dot is being pointed in the middle of the yantra, and this dot, which is a representation of the vayu or the prana what we call in tantric way. So this is where we focus the mantra and give the mantric initiation and focus our energy. A tantric will focuses energy in certain way and put this dot on the middle of the yantra. And what happens at that time, it is no more a diagram. Till then it will be a diagram. When the point is being made with a certain sound on that particular part, it will be become energized with the goddess. That is the thing. Though when it is being opened with the goddess, or when it is being attached with the goddess, the yantra start to vibrate. Actually, it is called as prana pradishta. In Sanskrit, it is called as prana pradishta. Prana pradishta is nothing but giving life. Prana prana is the life, and pradishta means it's putting the life in that particular area. So prana pradishta means giving life in that particular piece of the work, and that is become the home for the goddess, and people can
All
actually
right.
start. Sorry.
Can we? Okay, that was beautiful. And can we just pause there? I would love to see if I have been hearing you correctly, and just do a little bit of a recap to echo what you said, and so I can, before we get too far. But I think that is a great point where I know you have much more to say, but bear with me. So if I am hearing you correctly, we're talking circles, squares, and triangles are the elements that are the geometric shapes that yantras are
and and the
built
dot
based on,
and dot
and the
and
dot.
dot.
Okay, so right.
Yeah.
Okay, so circle, square, triangle, and dot, and then circle represents expansion. If it was one word, you would be expansion of consciousness, right? Consciousness expansion.
Yes.
And then square is rigidity, and
Yeah.
upward triangle is fire, downward triangle is water, and the dot is the prana, the point where you focus energy, sound, vibration, the whole thing. It vibrates and
That is
activates and
called
brings
as
life.
pradishta in consecration. I think English
Consecration.
word is
Okay.
consecration. Where we put the energy chanting some certain sound. So what happens? It start to vibrate. I mean, the giving life. So basically, the understanding the life or the atman or the soul, which is not only presented in human beings, it's also presented in all kind of existence. And also we can give the life as well. So some certain yogic process, awakening kundalini and that prana, it's basically sexuality. Kundalini is nothing but it's a sexual energy. We can see it's like a root of the tree, and the head sahasrara is the topmost chakra. So it's like when we take the sexuality in certain way and push it through our sushupna. Ida and Pingla is there, that is two nadis. It's like a snake coiled serpent around the sushupna. And when we start to take the prana through sushupna and take it higher, it will be like sahasrara is nothing but that is how we can only imagine that. It's like a thousand petal lotus. The lotus is being came out like one another never ending lotus. It's that kind of feel will be people will get that kind of ecstasy
Yeah.
towards that. And it's like I took LSD and pethidine and sort of stuff, but this is something like it's much higher than this all these things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It goes beyond all these kind of ecstatious um, understanding.
Hmm.
So yeah, that is why people are calling it as enlightenment. That is what the dot is representing, and from there, this power, this awoken the power of sexuality could be transferred to the middle of this particular diagram through chanting certain sounds, and this will be become that particular chakra, or the particular diagram will be lifeful, and the goddess, and I mean people's believe it's a goddess. That is the easiest way to represent this kind of energy, because it's a creative force. The woman is the prakriti, that the woman is the existence. I mean, it's feminine. So that is why it is being represented as goddess, and it is black in color also. Why it is means the dark energy is more. If we take the our entire universe in a single point, what we could see is like the dark energy is more than that of the white energy. White is very less. So this that is why it is a goddess. It's a creative force, and it is so much over there. That is why people are understood it in a way that uh, it is symbolized in a way that it is a goddess,
Wow,
so
you know what? That
this
can can we pause there for a second?
yeah.
That you know, I've been studying the different poetry devoted to the revelations, revelatory experiences, and close encounter type contact experiences with the goddess Kali. So many descriptions of the darkness of the goddess are embedded in the 1008 names, and all to the points that Arun is making about the vastness, the expansiveness, and the relative mass of darkness in the universe versus that of light. It's and you gave a great, very scientific, very accurate kind of scale model to think about that, and it makes me also realize like that the blackness of Kali, it's not coincidental or just sort of poetic. It's like you made me realize right now what you said, that this the seduction of Kali is like a black hole, but it is like the most benevolent journey you could want to go on, and it's like there's so much more magnetism from the vast. And I'm just looking at the night sky. It's like, yeah, if the darkness is what holds all of this, then yeah, if you wanted to create a mythology around worshiping a divine mother, creatrix of this whole dance, then you would equate it to the darkness being God, the darkness being the womb, the cosmic womb. And so it's beautiful to reclaim the divinity of darkness and have a narrative that isn't like, oh, it's all about just worshiping the sun, which is great. It's all about the light, which is this very kind of post-Christian kind of thing. And then, as you know now, there's so much racism and racial politics around, like even in Malcolm X, reading being schooled on how black and white are used as a form of like psychological warfare by oppressors. So anyway, it could go on about the beauty of darkness, the 1008 names. There is infinite reference to the beauty of the goddess as the all-encompassing dark womb of love, and the way to change the narrative and flip the script on darkness, that is really important in the world right now. And so back to you, Arun. Thank you, and I apologize for the
And no, the thing is like I'm mostly a misfit in the community which I actually lived in, because uh, uh, being open to sex in a place like India is certainly taboo. it not just bring the social unconsciousness in your own home. Also, it's not just bring it's bring a lot of troubles in society, but the truth is always truth. The thing is like the way you see, once you got awoken, and once you see the things in a certain particular aspect, then you can't help, because you are not more seeing the world in the way which others are seeing and visualizing, because that is how it is. Then it is definitely bring a social friction. And whatever the, if I see, there is a sexually frustrated community is being developing. They have a certain kind of ego which is unconsciously developed on themselves, which won't allow them to have the life in the fullest form, and it is also create a kind of friction on themselves, which won't allow, which will always push them to put their head into other people's life. And even the thing is like, Carl J. Jung is say it is a persona. It's a kind of veil which people wear. They say this is sin, this is sin. But if we see in the cyberspace, almost 70% of the content is consumed by those who called us morally correct people. They are the majority. They say one thing and they act in some certain other way. So they are the
Yeah.
major people, and they are the consumers of that. The data saying the other way, you know so this is something which we have to certainly look at into, and something which people has to be get educated into, and some certain policy makers has to have take a look on the statistics. I mean, the decision has to be made out of the data. This is the data. This is the truth.
Yep.
Then the society
Yep.
has to be changed. Sorry.
There you go. That's it. Numbers don't
That
lie.
is,
Only people lie, but numbers don't lie.
yeah,
That's
numbers don't lie. This is the data. People has to
mm.
certainly has to be admitted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to that point, I have I have it's been instructed to me that one of the symbolic representations or qualities that's represented with I believe one of the points of one of the one of the sort of geometric points on the Kali Yantra is actually um, attributed to bliss, and as a translation, I don't know if you want to get it. Maybe I should just we should if you want to give like a describe the Kali Yantra for those who have never seen it, and certainly you can search that online, just Kali Yantra. If you're listening to this, you could pause it and just do a search, and it'll pop up. But maybe if you want to do like a describe it and then give us the anatomy, and eventually, I mean, I think it'd be great for now if you just do the two-dimensional anatomy describing what you see in front of you with um, the different levels. But you can see, and I've seen three-dimensional yantra sculptures. I've been in pujas with them as part of an altar, and to where the yantra, the three-dimensional yantra, was part of a Kali puja sequence of readings of. It could have been. I think. No. There's many different. I mean, I have different sort of Kali Puja manuals, and I think there's probably different, very different permutations of it. But I would say, you could look at this yantra and you say, oh, that's interesting. It is squares, circles, triangles, and a dot and whatnot, in these different patterns, and kind of you can see the lotus petal type thing going on and whatnot. But it took me a long time to wonder until I found it just searching. I was like, oh my God, that's actually a blueprint for something that's meant to be beheld in a three-dimensional form, which means that what is it, the five, or the between 3 and 5 I've seen of the sort of stacked triangles, that it really is like a pyramid of triangles vertically, and the dot in the center I mean, yeah, it's interesting. So if you could search right now for 3D Kali Yantra and then really get excited. But I guess however you want to do it, we could do the 2D version now, anatomy of the yantra from, the face down view, or from
Yeah,
the
this is
overview.
the three-dimensional way. The yantra has related to another book which is called Tantra Samuchayam. This is talking about the construction of the temple, the
Uh,
geometrical pattern, geometrical aspect, and sort of stuff. So this is how the temples has to be consecrated spaces has to be built. So once these kind of structures is being built, people can actually go inside, and it will be become like a transformative
mm,
experience. Just
fuck
sitting
yeah.
there will transform the people. So
Yeah.
that is how the temples is being built actually. This is very heavy architecture. This is the thing
Mm,
which I just really got curious of into. This
mm,
is like at least 3 to 4 thousand year old. If we are honest about this, this is like
mm,
at least 3 to 4 thousand year old, and this is like very precise geometrical pattern. If you study this in very deep sense, it's like
mm,
a very precise geometrical pattern, and the structures being built on that time, like Ajanta Aurora caves. If we come to India, there are some structures which has been built in Kashi and Ajanta Aurora caves and sort of stuff. It's like this is, I mean, very modern technology also will take years together to construct something like that.
right.
So this is something which people certainly, I mean, the new technology, technical people or scientists or policymakers or whatever has to be get curious of actually, because
Yeah.
the patterns which is being developed in east and west, if we study the Metatron's cube and the seed of life, there are some, and this thing, what it is called, Kabbalah,
Yeah.
those kind of things. So all those comes in a certain pattern. Yeah,
And
this
music
is very.
too. I mean, music, if I'd say for anybody who's skeptical about the power of sacred geometry, understand that what music is doing is creating sound forms, sound waves, and patterns that are either, harmful or healing or helpful or uplifting or emotionally. Like if you what's your favorite song and how does it make you feel? Well, that's all sacred geometry too, and that's also three-dimensional because it's sound waves that are vibrating. It's not just yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. That's like where everybody's, yeah, trying to, when I guess the ultimate thing is to build a structure that you can be enveloped by walking into, and then that is a sacred geometrical object in and of itself. And we lost a lot in the modern world living in very spiritually incorrect geometrical, dwellings that don't have domes and arches and and actually, like, yeah, astrologically or feng shui or whatever it is, like a spiritually intelligent design of the buildings that you inhabit leads to chronic illness. It leads to lack of creativity, sexual frustration. I mean, you could just tally it up. So yeah, so that's, and in fact, I did, in some of my research, I found somewhere somebody saying, and this could be no longer true, but it seemed interesting at the time, was that there are actual, like, engineering plans for Kali Yantra temple, but to the knowledge of the author of this piece, whatever it
Yes,
was,
it is
whatever
there.
it
It
was.
is there. It is there. That is called Tantra Samuchayam. There is a book which is called Tantra Samcham, how this is being has to be built and how it has to be, this structure has to be erected. This There is a particular thing is there. That is Tantra Samcham. So basically, astrology is the I mean, in astrology everything comes together, and the sexual posture also.
I gotta
But
ask you.
sorry.
Okay, I'm okay. I'll wait. I'll save this. I'll ask you something. I mean, this is getting really lively, but I'm gonna pause and let you continue, and then just know that I've got a a question for you that's related to this temple building projects. So yeah, what were you saying for?
What was that?
Do you want to continue, or should I ask the question now?
Yeah, you can ask me the question.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I apologize. I apologize. I'm very excited about this topic, and everything you say, it brings up a lot of excitement for me. So I'm curious if in India, which has a national religion of Hinduism, right? That would be correct to say. Um, it's not a secular. I mean, maybe it tries to be, but ultimately, like the national religion is considered Hindu just by the numbers, right? Like is that still accurate to say about India? Like if you were, you
No,
know,
no. Basically, Hinduism is not a religion. This is the one of the fundamental problem which people are trying to make. People are trying to make Hinduism as a religion. This is fundamentally wrong concept because in Hinduism it is not a single way of understanding. It is not like the Jesus Christ, I am the way, truth, and life, you just follow me. No, it's not a single God. It's one God is saying sex is the way to liberation. One God is saying vairagya, don't not having sex is the way of liberation. Another God is saying there is no God at all. Another God is saying there is a war is the so it's
Mhm.
like conflict altogether. So the liberation happens when you are getting confused.
Mhm.
It liberation won't happen when you are rigid and strong,
Right,
because you can be very strong and you can believe something very strongly, so that is not the way to liberation. That is the way to terrorism. You can
yeah,
build a religion based on terrorism, on that kind of understanding. So
right.
this is
Wow,
basically confusing people is basically they will start to seek what is truth. At least
right, right. No,
so
I'm glad you said that because I have, um, yeah, that's my understanding. And that the projection, even the word Hindu itself, is just basically something that was made up by the Christian colonizers who wanted to basically they wanted a Christ-like Messiah, which became Krishna, and they wanted a Bible-like text, and that became the Bhagavad Gita. But that really isn't representative. It's a misnomer to say that Hinduism is a religion, and it's even a misnomer to say that that Hinduism is actually an indigenous native concept. Is it true that even the concept of Hinduism was introduced by outsiders who wanted to simplify the complexity of Tantrism? Is that how you might describe it?
the basically we have to study the religious aspect from the east and west. In western religion or the Semitic religion, we can say it is Semitic religion. This Semitic religion, there is only the concept of my way or no way. This is
Mm.
the that is what the prophecy is all about. If you don't follow me, you are fallen into hell. If you follow me, you are welcome to heaven. This is
Mm.
the dogma they try to prophesy. All the Semitic religion, when they came to India, they can't understand what is happening in India, because the thing is like one guy is saying there is no God, and people say he is also Hindu. Another guy says you can marry as much as you want. People say he is also God. And some sadhus are smoking weed and taking drugs
Yeah.
and lying naked on road. People says that is also God. And what not, if the king, they are having lot of pleasure, lot of money and controls, and people says that also God. And the Shiva is vairagya, full of vairagya. He is neti, he don't want any kind of materialistic pleasure. He don't like the anuraga, I mean the love and the romance.
Yeah.
He don't like that God. It's so complete vairagya, he also God. And Krishna, he is full of anuraga. He is having a lot of lovers. He is having, and people are worshipping him. That also
Yeah.
so people can't understand what is happening here? you know so
Yeah.
they said, yeah, this is Hinduism. So basically this is not the way, like here there is no god. If you see in India, Indians never believed in god. Rather than that, they seek the god. They try to figure out the way to experience god. So whereas the west, what happened is like they said there is a god, you have to follow him, that's it. And there is no openness. So so this is this is the problem which is being faced by both east and west. So the western called this is Hinduism, and they tried to made it as a religion. I mean, it is, whereas it is not a religion, it's a way of seeking the truth and experiencing the god. That
So
is the
we could call
difference.
it a dogma. It's dogma resistant spiritual technology. Maybe that's, I think, just thinking of different words
Yeah.
to throw out there. It actually is very resistant to being dogmatized or even, I guess you could say, for there to be a in sort of a, it's interesting. So canonicalization, right? We know that, you and me, from tech, code language writing, right? To the canonical link for a web SEO project, or there's the word canonical comes from the process where the different versions of the story of Christ were condensed into a single approved, state approved version, and that became the canonical text of the Bible. If I'm not butchering this is all just from on top of my mind, but this is great. I mean, what we're getting into in this, what's it's I want to get, I want to get back to um, the anatomy of the Kali Yantra, but all of this is relevant. What we're talking about, the semantics and the difference. I mean, I always feel like it's similar to saying closed source and open source technology. It's like
Yeah, exactly. Hinduism is an open source
yes,
technology.
that's perfect. So that's okay. So that's great. That kind of puts into focus what we're talking about here. So actually, so that random question I want to ask you was, it was about, is it the national religion? So that was a poor choice of words by me. The intention of that question is more to the point, is that if there are these well, we know that a lot of temples were burned and destroyed in various waves of colonization and warfare. So there's like a national wound in the pride of 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 what you would call Hindu, um, for lack of a better word for this moment. How about um,
It's a Sanatan Dharma. It's Hindu is a word given by some Western religion,
Western, right?
Semitic religion.
Right,
It's called a
right, right, right.
Sanatan Dharma.
Okay, so you're giving a more accurate word about how to identify this, the code base, the repository. So it's like, if we're talking about tech and open source, it's like everybody's got a different fork of it, but the GitHub of Tantrism, or the GitHub of the Vedic teachings, it really is like all those texts there are like repositories, but yeah. So I'm sorry. So I guess I'm just gonna skip the prefacing and say, part of me has a vision that Indian prisoners, like criminals who have been convicted and were in prison, or maybe is there a sector of the priest or priestess classes that would go into an Indian prison and say, hey, everybody, we're going to offer to pay you, your daily prison labor wage, or whatever, however it works, and we're going to actually buy some property and build a walk-in Kali Yantra temple, all built by not slaves, but by convicts who want to get some good behavior credits and maybe earn some money or at least get outside. I mean, there's a lot of public works and a lot of different projects that have been done, and some people might, I guess there's different ways to look at the ethics of who profits from that. But imagine building a nonprofit. I mean, let's say if all of the rapists in Indian prisons were given an option to build a refugee for victims of sexual abuse, and that refugee camp was actually a beautiful, elegant garden farm temple structure that was like, even if it wasn't one giant massive temple complex that would take hundreds of years and possibly alien technology, whatever, if you believe that, that to build, but like, I'll make a Kali Yantra cardboard fort to live on the street under and grow food on. You know what I mean? Like it could be any scale, but that's just a thought experiment as a side note. But I'm curious. My question is for you: what kind of like spiritual redemptive public works opportunities are there for criminals and prisoners in India, or do they just sit there and rot? I'm curious because you could see all kinds of different depictions in I'm watching that Locked Up Abroad program, which I hope I never end up on that fucking thing. Go ahead, man. What do you say about
There is actually definitely there is no see the missionary setup is not there in the cultural development on the Sanatan Dharma, you know.
Mm,
So, if we see the Christian missionaries and the Mohammedan religions, what we could see is like there is some kind of temple priest. I mean, the father or the guy or the sister will go to the a particular cell and priest preach about the Christ and his stories, but that kind of setup is not there. I mean, because there is no authority to
mm,
I mean,
mm-hmm.
it is an open source.
Right.
So,
You'd have to be seeking it. Like you wouldn't go there into the prison and say, "All right, everybody, you need to build the National Kali Monument because you're forced to, because that's the religion." Right? You wouldn't say it like that. But well, let's say, what if a private contractor or a private, what if someone were to say, "Hey, I know, like I said, there's ways that this can be done very wrong, but I would say, imagine that, like, well, let's say you were a prisoner inside of an Indian prison and you were already, for example, a Kali worshiper or seeker of the goddess, or interested in tantra or whatever, or maybe you got into tantra from the wrong path, so to speak, and it got you in trouble, and now you want to be a personally reformed tantrika magician, and you're like, I want to repent for my for my misdeeds of karma, and I want to serve nature, serve the goddess. And so, could they, like, like, let's say right now, is if we had $1 million and we said we should, you know, uh, after, considering everything going on with COVID, what if we, or accepting or adapting to that reality, appropriately, or you could say this thought experiment is like post COVID or pre COVID or whatever, but the idea of like not necessarily being a missionary to go and like program people with dogma, but if I wanted to say, hey, I think if you're a rapist, I think you should spend the rest of your life building goddess temples that are refugee camps that protect women and children from other rapists, including you. And that would be something, right? Like that's something where I would rather pay a rapist to build a goddess temple that was a rape free zone, um, than have that rapist just sitting there getting worse and worse and rotting and being even more horrifically possessed, and also being raped and raping in prison, and to come out and to be a better rapist. And that goes for anywhere in the world probably, but certainly in the US, that's no joke. So, I'm not going to go into a US prison and go in a fist fight with the Christian chaplain and like punch him out, and then take their podium and start preaching about Kali temples. But but people teach yoga in prisons now, so like there's another fucking mind fuck, right? It's like, oh, there she is, there's the goddess sticking her tongue out, but you'll never know why. You'll never, they won't hand you out a fucking a yantra coloring book in American prisons, you know what I mean? But anyway, I'm digressing, but I think this is it's fun
Yeah,
stuff to imagine.
this is something which actually. So basically, what we could do is like the immediate thing we can do is like we can design the Kali Yantra and send to the rapist across the
Mm.
globe. This is something
Mhm.
which we could do.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I'm gonna start there.
Yeah, design the
Yeah,
Kali Yantra and send to the rapist.
yeah.
you know.
Fuck yeah. Oh my God. I think I know I'm gonna, for the rest of my life, I'm gonna be a renunciate. I'm just gonna have a robe and a box of printed Kali Yantras and just go hand them out and just not say a word but with crayons, so they can color it in. There you go. That's
Yeah.
it. That's how I'm gonna, my golden years I'm gonna devote to that. I mean, why not? You
This
can
is
do
an
worse
interesting
things.
idea. Actually, basically, we could. I mean, we could start to do that.
Yeah, it would be, or like a birthday cake. Have you seen decorated cakes? Like you can make food and decorate it. You can even print on food now with edible ink. Imagine that. But yeah, well, here I go off into these these crazy tangents about mass marketing Kali worship, and that's really not, yeah, not a slippery slope I want to hurt myself on or hurt anybody else on. But yeah, but I think that is a great, somewhere we're like piecing together some fun projects. But yeah, so back to what is, so if you're listening, you're like, when is Ben going to shut up and let Arun tell us what a fucking Kali Yantra looks like? Now's the time that you've been waiting for. I'm shutting up, and you could tell us what it looks like.
So basically, the Kaliyandra, there is five downward triangles, which means that it is like female energy. This is, there is a mudra also associated with the same, that is Yoni Mudra. This is in Tantric worship. There is one mudra also associated with this particular triangle. That is Yoni Mudra. When we worship the Kali Yantra, that is the mudra we have to start to do. So what happens is like it's a kind of understanding the femininity in masculine way. So people can start to understand the feminine. Then in five downward triangles, which is one small one, another big one around that, and another big one, and another big one, and another big one, like that, five triangles, and two circles around the triangle, and there is eight lotus petals around the circles. So this is how the Kali Yantra you look like, and there is other decorations are also is being made. You can put the mantras or symbols or sort of things. You could actually see in different things, but this is the basic of the Kali Yantra: five downward triangles and two circles around it, and eight lotus petals. This is how all the yantras is being made like what we say like how do I say squares. There is a square structure which looks like a cross. All the yantras is
Right.
being made because that is not the part of the yantra. Actually, it is to
Oh,
give the structural fitness or whatever
it's a
to
platform, basically. It's a platform or a
yeah,
base,
it's a platform.
and
Yeah,
that's
it's a
more
platform.
of a ah. So if we were thinking about it from a construction, contracting perspective, it'd be like that. So what, and yeah, so I think anybody listening, including me, is clear on what you described as now. What I know now is the unique Kali Yantra, separate from the foundation of the in the back, which is, it kind of looks like um Yeah, it's a square with these little T's. They're like, yeah, there's T shape. There's four. Oh, actually, it looks like it looks like yeah, little. There's like T-shaped mushrooms. You could say there's a yeah. It's a square with a mushroom growing out of each side, the top, the right, the bottom, the left. There's like a squared off T-shaped looking. I would now I'm saying I love the idea of describing it. So hey, if you're blind and you're listening, imagine a square with four mushrooms coming out, or you can close your eyes and imagine it if you're not just looking at it right now. But wow, that's cool and great to know. So and then there's the dot in the center of the four five triangles, the smallest in the middle of the smallest triangle on the top of the stack, right?
Yeah.
And
Sorry,
that's
again?
yeah, that's it. So that's it. So you have so now if we can do if you want to walk us through like a 3D verbal tour because you described all of the elements. So let's say if we were looking at a three-dimensional Kali Yantra temple the size of an Egyptian pyramid, and we were, so like, let's say the platform of that square with the little T's coming off. If the top of that platform was as it was at our foreheads, and we were looking up, we would see. Do you want to kind of walk through the visual of each of those objects nested within each other, how they stack up vertically, so that you can imagine if you were looking straight ahead, you would be seeing that footing, that base foundation, and then as you pan up towards the sky, you see each one of these levels um, leading up ultimately to the top. So could you walk us through that?
Uh, I didn't get the idea. Like we
Okay,
are looking on the, it will be like a pyramid,
the
stacked
size of it,
upon
yeah,
five pyramids are stacked upon smaller one, one
right.
bigger one and another smaller one and another smaller one. Like that, five pyramids will be stacked upon, and the first pyramid will be half cut, and the another pyramid will be half cut, and which is being put on the top of the first pyramid. Then another pyramid will be half cut, that will be put on the top of the pyramid. There is
Mhm.
figuring out, there is to get the geometry done, there are some certain mathematics is being has to be worked out, that is being actually prescribed in the books, which is called
Mm.
tantra samchaya, how to calculate this geometrical understanding. And there is two circles will be there outer the which touches the three corners of the pyramid. There is two circles, and some says it is four, but it is actually two.
Okay.
Then it is been surrounded by eight lotus petals.
Okay, so now, okay, so here, basically, what you just did right now is you walked us down from the top. So how about I'm going to walk us up from the bottom, um, so that people can see this. It's almost like a visual meditation. So if you're, you would say, if you're looking at an image of a 3D Kali Yantra right now, you can, really follow along very easily. If you were, if you've never seen this before, or you're blind, or you're looking at the two-dimensional, I think this will be an interesting, hopefully, experience to project yourself into this realm where there is a 3D Kali Yantra temple built that's the size of a average Egyptian pyramid. So we're talking very, very tall, very wide structure. And so if you were standing at the base right now, if you and I were standing at the base, and let's say that you could climb it all the way to the top. That you could climb it all the way to the top. So then in that case, and you basically like steps. So if every level of the yantra was scaled to where you could step up from one level to the next, without a ladder, basically, or without any other, like just the average human stair step. You could go from the outer edge to the center. The outer edge is the lowest point, being the lowest point, and the center middle being the highest point. So you're first stepping onto the platform that is the square with the T's on each side. The next step would be onto one of the 8 lotus petals. Your next step from there would be onto the larger circle. Then your next step up from there would be onto the slightly smaller circle. And from that point, you would be climbing the 5 telescoping from larger to smaller triangles. So step 1, triangle 1, step 2, triangle 2, etc., up to the 5th triangle. And then you would be, if you wanted to, I guess it's possible you could make that that dot in the center, let's say, be a fountain. So, and then you could actually sit there and meditate and pray at that fountain, and that would be the point the point at the top of it. Something strikes me the wrong way about standing on the ball, either because it would be maybe not safe, or because maybe you would get a Kundalini blast, or that it would be disrespectful or something. But in either case, that's how. Does that work for you to kind of like literally now we just walked people into the yantra,
Yeah, that is a very good imagination, sitting there and meditating. That is the important thing, visualizing that and meditating. And if you have a nice partner, you could actually make love there. That
Mm-hmm.
also, like, you can actually go deep into your partner.
Right.
Because making love is a meditative experience.
Exactly. Exactly.
That is
So
Tantra is the word.
if
You
you
can't see. Sorry?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's you were I can't tell you how pleased I am that this discussion arrived there, because I do feel it like the Dakini consort that is appropriate to be in my lap in Yab Yum, eye gazing and chanting mantras and raising Kundalini. I would like those people. I'm not going to say it has to be one person, but I would like those people to participate in this, for now, meditative visualization of meeting dear beloved goddess Shakti. Meet me at the top of the Kali Yantra temple in an auspicious full moon night, where our our beloved friends are dancing in circles and making fires and basically celebrating the consummation of our love, and we're going to use that passion to uh, channel the power to make more of these sacred spaces and build them, wherever it's appropriate, and not imposing on people who don't want it, but be able to to manifest the building of this, these prototypes eventually, and hopefully, more sanctuaries, orphanages, refugee camps, however you want to spend that million mythical dollars that we have. But that's so precious. And I'm glad you said it and not me, because of course my filthy, dirty mind always wanted to sneak up to the top of the Kali Yantra temple and and make love under the moonlight with a sex magic trained priestess, beloved goddess. But if I came up with it, then it would be really easy to dismiss. But you're the one who said, "Hey, why not?" You know, um, put the icing on the cake, as some people might say, and go up there. Well, and then you get into the lingam yoni and the rituals around that. That's something that, could you do an introduction for us to what the lingam yoni sacred sculpture altar objects really indicate about cosmic union and whatnot? Like, I've got my projections about it, but this would be a great time to talk about. Like, it's not you don't it's not it's appropriate to be sexually magical, you know, right?
Because the see, there is a lot of taboo around that. There is lingam temples are there. Also, there is yoni temples also there. This Kamakya temple, which that is what I am saying. There is a Kamakya temple there. Yoni is being worshipped, and
Mm.
there is Shiva temples. There is lingam is being worshipped. It's some in the Kamakya temple, there is Yoni Puja is being performed,
Yeah.
where people are being initiated and certain sounds. This is a tantric ritual. Some certain sounds is actually evoking the different layers of energy in a woman's body so that
Mm.
she is capable to carry the cosmic being into a complete human being, because woman is the
Wow.
one, she gives the birth, the that is the politics of the universe, whatever it is
Ah,
actually.
yeah.
So that is it is still in India. It's just because nobody has destroyed it, and
Mm.
uh, the problem now, it is there in India. I don't think some other countries could be, I mean, yeah, it could be certainly taboo in other parts, I
Hmm.
think.
You would be killed almost anywhere else in the world to even have this conversation, almost. And if not, you would be either decapitated or imprisoned, or even, yeah. I mean, it's that's why I'm so fascinated by this, because if there were, if there were temples to female powers of sexuality, which there are, throughout the world. It's not like it only evolved in India, but India is the only place that seems to have survived um, the pandemic of Christian colonization, going back now mainly the last few hundred years, but obviously even beyond. But yeah, so the lingam yoni, that's something that is, it's not really graphically explicitly, it's a little bit more symbolic, although it doesn't take much to read between the lines. You see what looks like like a saucer, like a plate. There's the receptive yoni, and then the lingam is more like a cylinder that's not overtly uh, anatomically correct, but gives you the sort of plus minus kind of masculine, feminine, receptive, giving, like that. Like there's in footage I've seen of one of the Khajuraho temple complex, one of the surviving rituals that happens there is that they come and they bring like dairy products, and they smear that they pour it from the top of this giant Shiva lingam, and they smear it all around it, and it's basically like a fertility, you know, uh, kind of sympathetic magic kind of thing. And it's like, it makes a lot of sense, because the reality is, penises ejaculate and yonis kind of secrete and receive, and that I don't know how you turn that into evil. I don't know how that happens. That's a whole nother story. But it's good to know that there's still places left on Earth where that reverence for the human, the beauty of all parts of the human body, and the value of these things. Would you say that like if you were doing a Kali Puja right now, like if you were doing a tour of the United States, assuming that it was pre-COVID or post-COVID or whatever, you were touring the U.S. and you wanted to teach, um, you know, 2-3 hour classes throughout the United States. You could go to yoga studios, you could go to university lecture halls, you could go to the beach, to the mountains, to the prisons, whatever. But like if you went on a journey of delegation, which is, you could call it I know a lot of swamis have done that, you know, for various traditions that they carry, but you know, a lot of what I have to at least throw into this conversation is stuff that I learned from the Kali Mandir Satsang podcast, which is from the Kali Temple in Laguna Beach, run by a consortium of folks, but the main priest there, he invites swamis on there who have come from India, people who've been teaching in the West. But it's like, I'm curious, if you were to just imagine yourself as being somebody who had that dharma to come and bring some of this to the West, and you were going to invite people to experience a Kali Puja to go kind of experience, you know, or like they get to show up and witness and be a part of it, you would be, I imagine, leading chants and mantras, teaching mudras, giving a sort of lecture or discourse, showing people the appropriate gifts to offer the center statue of the goddess. There's also you might have a Shiva lingam to teach with or to do energy work with, and you might have a 3D yantra or some depiction. So I'm curious if you were to. That's just kind of what I have experienced. Just a very very minor sampling of the kind of experience. But I'm curious, like, what you would, if you were to design that, educational lecture / puja. What would some of that what would you put in your kit, you know what I mean? And not that it's going to be advice that, oh, you should go do exactly what he's doing and therefore you're certified or something, but I'm just curious, what if you could unpack and explain some of what would go into a ritual ceremony, workshop, class, whatever you would construct to bring what we've been talking about into that kind of a format.
Not exactly. I never thought of that. But right now, what I am thinking is like the idea which you have been put forth is like sending the Kali Yantra to prisoners. It's a very fantastic idea, actually. You know,
Yeah, we'll see about it.
and that is
Make it happen.
something which is yeah. But regarding the workshop program which you are trying to propose, I think I need to study much more about that because
Right.
I
What do they call it? A
yeah.
pujari? Is that what it's called? Somebody who is like the one who performs the leading those ceremonies, the pujas?
Which puja? That pujari is the one who carry out the puja.
Who's the facilitator? Right. So that's not. So you're saying you were not necessarily on the path of being a pujari yourself. That's not something you're.
Uh, Pujari is different. There is teachers, gurus are there, na? Pujaris and all performing whatever the gurus is being taught.
Right. So that's
For instance,
really.
Osho is a guru, and
Mhm.
his disciple who is conducting the workshops are the pujaris.
Okay, so is it so? But yeah, so the pujari. What would you call an attendee? Like a sadhaka or what do you call it? A sannyasin or what's the what's the
Sadhaka is sannyasi is the truth seeker. Sadhaka
truth?
is the someone. Yeah, sannyasi. Sannyasi, satya, anyoshi. Satya means truth. Anyoshi means the seeker, truth seeker. Sannyasi.
Okay, and then
Sadhaka is some.
sadhaka, not a
Sadhaka
sadhaka.
Sadhaka is someone who got a glimpse of the truth and keep working on that. We could say he is someone working for success.
Working for what?
Success.
Success. Okay, right. So then
Yeah.
so now, and because I went through those 1,000 names again many times now. I mean, I went through that thing. It's 2 hours long. I looped it 3 times. That was not. I'm not saying this to be competitive with anything or anyone, but except for myself. But I would say that listening to the Sufiana recording of the 1008 names, it is in its own form of a trance, its own form of intoxication, and I would like to spend a lot more time in that realm of what she creates with her voice. But because I have been listening to that, I know I had brought this up before, but so Vera and Viro, am I correct in remembering from those translations that the female there's a female word for the female tantrika seeker and the hero, like the warrior hero seeker, and then there's a male word, or maybe I'm conflating that, but it's like Vera or Viro, either. If maybe I'm confusing that, but do those vocabulary words invoke something for you, or am I totally off?
Vairagi, like that.
Well, Vera, there being a Sanskrit word that is relative to a tantric sadhaka, like the seeker path. If you were like, people say, "Oh, you're doing tantra, huh? You must be a real hero, a real warrior," and they're like, "Yeah, they call me a Vera." You know what I mean? Like there is like a word that comes up, and it's come up for me in my studies, and I think that's kind of like,
He,
you
who
want to be a
he
macho man, you want to be a badass, so you want to be a Vera or something, right?
I don't know about the Vira. He who performed the tantra is like tantric actually, basically. He who goes on the path of the tantra, and he who performed, I mean, he who put the workshops and sort of stuffs like that. He is a guru, a teacher. He is beyond all these people like pujaris or tantrikas or whatever. He is beyond all this. Guru is nothing but a teacher. That's it. Okay, it's a that's it. It is.
Okay.
Then Vairagi. Vairagi is the word which I heard. Vairagi means he he don't like all this materialistic pleasure. That is called Vairagi. His only love is knowledge.
God. Okay. So no, I'm sorry. So I feel like while we have these opportunities to talk, anything and everything that you do to help course correct my often really foolhardy foolhardy approaches to this stuff, but at least I'm having fun, and that's what matters, as long as I'm being ethical. But Vira Sadhana is the spiritual discipline of the hero. That's from kaulatantra.com. Vira Bhava. um, in Tantric tradition, the term Vira or hero is used to describe the model male typology. It refers to the composite ideal of perfect masculine, which is manly, heroic, elevated, and noble, with the aim. So
What is
that's retreat.guru, Tantra workshop for men in Thailand. So, you know, that's just it's coming. Yeah, it's coming up, and I think it's probably best that we do some future kind of like introductory vocabulary episode, where some of the things that you might encounter, general things, to kind of build a reference point, and that can be for good for both of our podcasts, because this is like, if you do anatomy of the chakra system, the Sanskrit words, the translation, and do some commentary on it, then really it's like, it'd be
yeah,
nice
we
to
could.
know. Yeah, it'd be nice
Yeah,
to know that if you were,
a lot of people are getting confused, and
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the,
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
and not to say that we have the ultimate, or you have the ultimate truth, but where it's the process of seeking it, and a process of saying, we
Yeah,
can, well, like if we were going to write a computer programming language, we'd have to agree on what words, what symbols we're going to represent different functions and whatnot. So, we're basically crafting in these podcasts. We are creating a new tantric multimedia experience, and but these are all just words. The map's not the terrain, so we're just trying to create a map that we can both work from and understand. And so far, it's been really. I appreciate you so much because you have helped me debunk, and you've added so much new information. You helped me debunk some things that were, even the whole talk about is Hinduism a religion? Where did the word Hindu come from? That's really important. I feel like everybody who's doing yoga should be able to have these levels of understandings that you're providing here, just as a gift. So, um, yeah,
Because it's open
really fun.
source.
What's that?
Because it is open source.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful,
I think we
beautiful.
have to use some Creative Commons license or something like that, no?
Right, right.
For
There you go.
podcast,
That's it.
some Commons license, you know.
That is, yeah, that's the direction that we're going in. So, I definitely would like to, yeah, say at this point, I'm again extra appreciative that the space is created for me to kind of fall on my face a few times and dust off and get a clue by the end of it, and hopefully do less damage in the world in the name of tantra, thanks to your tutelage. And hopefully, people who listen to this want to
One,
seek you
one,
out.
one thing, this is there is worshipping method is also there for the Kali Yantra. If we are not putting that, it will not be complete. Actually, how it is being done is like after doing the pranayam,
Hmm.
devotee or whoever the aspirant has to invoke the Kali, that is how the puja has to be done. And usually the yantra is being made in copper or the gold plate, and putting the rice and the ghee together, they evoke the Kali. There is a certain mantra is being said, is in this way: krim 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 hum hum dakshina kalike krim 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 hum hum swaha. So this has to be done 1 lakh times.
Wow, that's
You want
amazing. Yes, I'm familiar. I have done that.
krim krim is a sound. Krim krim, krim 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 hum hum dakshina kalige krim 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 hum hum swaha.
Any other thoughts you want to share about the Kali Yantra? I think we just opened up another whole path of inquiry. So I just want to give you plenty of time to say all that you would desire to say about it for this very very fun and very wild, all over the place introduction to this curiosity.
The Yeah, nothing. I mean, this is something which has to be think about seriously. That sending the Kalika Yantra, which is been actually consecrated or whatever to the rapist in the uh, jails. That is a very good thought that could be worked on actually.
Mm, okay, well, we
The
will.
small
Yeah.
small pieces of Kalika Yandra, which has been consecrated with the chant of the mantra. I mean, that is powerful, which has been done prana pratishtha in tantric way, and sending across to. I mean, whether they are going to throw it out or whatever doesn't matter. Just like
Mm,
a gift.
a gift. Well, on that note, I'm actually thinking you could make a sort of kit, a set where all the pieces are actually cut out, um, blocks,
Ah,
and then you can assemble it, and that could be for children, that could be for prisoners, that could be for a drinking game if you wanted to. I mean, whatever. You could make a board game like Jenga or something. But I yeah, I like to think of ways to it's a it's a modest and humble and graceful way to invite people to explore the mysteries without being too in their face about it. And it's like, hey, if they have, if you start having interesting experiences, then tell us about it. We don't have to tell anybody what they're supposed to see or feel, or but I think it's always an open-ended, open source opportunity to explore deeper, and you will never in this one lifetime understand a fraction of what there is already been understood by our ancestors, and we can only experience what seems like a finite amount, with just our brain. So letting this project flow freely and find its let the devotees find the path, through very little indoctrination and through very subtle and very cryptic initiations for now. Yeah, send that out there. Okay, well, great. Well, we will let that be a prayerful vision to behold. Do you want to talk about some of your offerings again, so people who are just hearing you for the first time know what you have available as your offerings through your website for people who are seekers of the wisdom that you hold?
Um, yeah, basically, I help people to get a reading of themselves and tell the certain sound and mantras and yoga postures which suits in their own nakshatra. That some of the podcast which you could listen in my website, that has been available in irunsyoga.in, where I'm giving uh, tantric understanding of their own self through the astrological framework. um, yeah, if somebody is interested into that sort of things and want to know more about tantra, they could contact, and if they want to know about the Sanskrit words or Sanskrit translation sort of stuff, yeah, that this is the main service I give, the tantric understanding of the self through the astrological perspective.
Awesome. Yes, and it's an amazing. I'm living by those words, and it's reshaped. I could say like my endorsement of your service as a Vedic astrologer is unspeakably deep and serious, because you find out you're running in the wrong direction. That's the feeling of finding out that you've been running in the wrong direction, running for your life towards your fate, your ill fate, and having what you share with me. It made a major pivot in my destiny, and I feel the authenticity of it, and it's very validating. So yeah, if you can be open to being course corrected, it's like you may want validation for everything, but it's those things that you get invalidated on that are for me, have been the most pivotal and transformative for liberation and for empowerment. And I thank you again, Arun, for that. And I know that you're helping people with that experience, and it's deep, and I know it only gets deeper. So please do check out his website, arunsyoga.in, and there's a banner for that website on my website on the side of the sidebar. So definitely, please do connect with him directly, and we will be following up on this again soon, hopefully with $1 million to to send out yantras to prisoners. We'll figure something out. Cool.
Yeah, that is yeah. Thank you for the podcast. Yeah. Okay, so Ben, that is something I'm taking seriously. Actually, this sending the
Yeah,
Kalika to prisoners.
I think that would be great, and I will be sourcing whatever means we need to start working on that. This is a really long awaited conversation for me, because it's been very
No, we
you
could
know, it's a
start
lot of
from
books.
there. We could start from there, and then I feel like slowly we can build the temple also.
Yes, slowly build the temples, baby.
Yeah.
Got to do it. Yeah, got to do it. All right. Well, yeah, I could say thank you a million times. I feel so grateful, and I hope maybe we send just well wishes to everybody who is. We're blessed to be speaking in relatively safe, remote, low population density natural areas, and not everybody has that experience right now. So I want to say that I hope that everybody is finding that connection to the healing powers of prana wherever they are, and hopefully they find the right mantras for them that help them dissolve negativity, um, and have as much control over as little as we have control over circumstances in many cases right now. What very little we do have control over, we can we can sing and chant and speak mantras, and even if we're in a cage, we can be holding asanas and mudras and chanting even quietly. So, lockdown, caged prisoners, caged refugees, caged rich people in Silicon Valley who are caged in their rich lofts, hey, if you're losing your mind, um, hopefully you will find mantras that work well for you, and whatever those mantras may be. Maybe they're not even Sanskrit. Maybe they're English mantras. But if they do the job, and then more power to you. We will do this again soon, and thank you again so much for all of these good times. You
Yeah.
have a great day. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you for listening to the Tantra Punk podcast. Please go to www.tantrapunk.com and click on the donate button to help support the show. In addition to sustaining and improving the podcast, your donations will help establish permaculture goddess temples that provide ecological employment for single mothers. Please subscribe and share your favorite episodes. If you have questions or comments, feel free to leave a voicemail at 818-275-1593 or email ben@tantrapunk.com. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to my podcast. You could connect with me in arunsyoga.in, where you could see my contact details, including my phone number, my WhatsApp, and email ID. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes.